At a birthday dinner, my sister-in-law mocked, "You're just a placeholder. He'll get tired of you." My spouse laughed along with her. I said nothing. Later that night, she logged into her bank account and screamed. Turns out, the placeholder was the one who had the final say on the family business. I should have seen it coming. Megan had always hated me. From the second I married Eric, she made it her mission to remind me that I was an outsider. Every chance she got, she would drop little comments, little digs, just enough to make me uncomfortable, but never enough to outright fight back. "Oh, Eric always picks women like you," she would say at family gatherings, swirling her wine, smirking. "It's his thing. He loves the chase, but once he's bored, he moves on." She said it in front of his parents, in front of his coworkers, in front of our friends. And Eric? He never defended me. He never corrected her. He just laughed like it was a harmless joke, like it wasn't a knife to my chest every time. For years, I took it. I told myself it didn't matter. I convinced myself that Eric loved me and that Megan was just bitter. But that night at the birthday dinner? That was the last straw. It was Eric's birthday and Megan picked the restaurant. Of course she did. She had expensive taste and a need to show off. We ended up at some high-end steakhouse in downtown Chicago. Dark lighting, gold accents, and the kind of menu that doesn't list prices. I had a bad feeling the second we sat down. Megan was in an unusually good mood, which meant she was up to something. She waited until the drinks were flowing, until everyone was laughing, until I was just starting to relax. Then she struck. "You know," she said, sipping her wine, "you're just a placeholder. He'll get tired of you." She was looking directly at me, smiling, waiting. "And Eric?" He laughed. I don't know if I can explain how that felt. It wasn't just the words. It wasn't just the humiliation. It was the fact that my own husband found it funny. I should have flipped the table. I should have thrown my drink in her face. Instead, I smiled. And I said nothing. Because at that moment, something in me shifted. She thought I was a placeholder? She had no idea who she was dealing with. Megan worked for the family business, a luxury home renovation company their father had started decades ago. It was a multi-million-dollar operation, and Megan was so sure that she was next in line to take over. She acted like she already ran the place. She made decisions without approval. She treated the employees like garbage. She was comfortable. She felt secure. She never once questioned it. And neither did Eric. Here's what they didn't know. I owned 51% of the company. Their father had trusted me. A year before he passed, he signed over the controlling shares to me. Said I was the only one with the brains to keep it running. Eric knew I helped with the paperwork. He knew I was involved. But he never really paid attention. And Megan? She had no clue. But she was about to find out. After that dinner, I spent weeks planning. I made sure all the paperwork was in order. I spoke to our lawyers. I gathered records. And then, on a random Wednesday afternoon, I walked into the office and changed everything. First, I removed Megan from all projects. Then, I revoked her access to company accounts. And finally, I sent one email, effective immediately. "Megan no longer works here." It took exactly 14 minutes for my phone to ring. It was Megan. I let it go to voicemail. 5 minutes later, Eric called. Ignored. Then the text started. "Megan, what the hell did you do, Eric? You need to fix this." "Megan, I'm coming to the office." And she did. She stormed in, red-faced, eyes wild, demanding to speak to whoever thinks they can fire me. I was sitting at her desk, waiting. I watched as she marched through the office, her heels clicking against the tile, her rage building with every step. She slammed her hands down on the desk. "You can't fire me." I smiled. "Oh, but I can." I slid the paperwork across the desk. "You should really read this." She grabbed it, eyes scanning, hands shaking. Then, her face went pale. This isn't real." "It's very real," I said. "Dad left me the company. I own it. And you? You're fired." She turned to Eric. "You knew about this?" Eric looked just as shocked as she was. His mouth opened and closed like he was trying to process what was happening. I didn't know," he stammered. I stood up, straightened my blouse, and grabbed my bag. "Oh, by the way," I added, just as I reached the door, "you might want to check your bank account." And then I left. Megan had always been loud, dramatic, the type to throw a fit over the smallest inconvenience. But this was different. This wasn't her latte order getting messed up. This wasn't a slow driver in front of her. This was her life crumbling. And I got to watch it happen in real time. Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone, tapping furiously. I knew exactly what she was doing, checking her accounts. And just like clockwork, there it was. The scream. A full, guttural, animalistic scream of pure rage. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered every time she had humiliated me. Every time she had laughed in my face. Every time she made me feel like I wasn't good enough. No, she deserved this. Megan had never been responsible with money. She lived like a Kardashian on a budget that barely covered it. Designer bags, luxury vacations, first-class flights. She needed people to see her as important. But what she never realized was that all of it was funded by the company. Not her salary, not her savings. She had been using the business credit card like her personal piggy bank. And as of that morning, that card was canceled. All those automatic payments? All those little treat-yourself purchases? All those lavish expenses she thought no one would notice? Gone. And it hit her fast. Her personal account was fine for now. But her credit cards? Blocked. Frozen. She had nothing to fall back on. And now? She was completely cut off. Eric wasn't much better. He was the ideas guy in the family. Big dreams, big promises, no follow-through. He had been coasting for years, living off the company without ever actually working. When I fired Megan, I knew it would shake things up. But I wasn't expecting Eric to fully spiral. He barged into our house that night, slamming the door behind him. "What the hell did you do?" he snapped. I looked up from my wine. "You'll have to be more specific. Don't play dumb." He threw his phone on the table. "Megan's locked out of everything. She can't access her accounts. She's been calling me nonstop." "And?" He gaped at me. "And? You just fired her? You humiliated her in front of the entire office? Do you know how bad that looks?" I set my glass down slow. "You mean the same way she's humiliated me for years? The same way you've let her?" "That's different," he shot back. "You didn't have to ruin her." I laughed. Actually laughed. She did that to herself. Eric ran a hand through his hair, pacing. He looked nervous. Not just angry. Worried. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about Megan. This was about him. "What else did you do?" His voice was lower now. I leaned back. "What do you mean?" "You did something. You're too calm." Smart boy. Because yes, I had done a lot more. Here's the thing about running a business. When you own 51%, you see everything. Every expense. Every transaction. Every off-the-books deal. And Eric? He had secrets. Lots of them. For months, I had been watching the numbers. Digging. Uncovering things he thought were hidden. Like the separate account he had been funneling money into. Or the mysterious transactions to a woman named Vanessa. Or the monthly payments for a condo that wasn't ours. Eric wasn't just living off the business. He was funding something else. Someone else. I let him panic for a little longer before I spoke. "You should probably check your accounts, too." His face went pale. Slowly, he pulled out his phone. Opened his banking app. And just like Megan, the second it loaded, silence. Followed by, "What the F, I took my money back," I said simply. "Well, technically, the company's money. The one you've been stealing from." Eric's jaw tightened. "That was my money." "No," I said, tilting my head. "It was our money. But you spent it on Vanessa." His whole body tensed. Checkmate. I saw the exact moment he realized I knew. Every secret. Every lie. Every stolen dollar. And now? Now it was all gone. That should have been it, right? That should have been the moment where he begged, where he apologized, where he realized he had lost everything. But no, because Eric wasn't just a liar. He was a coward. And cowards? Get desperate. So instead of backing down, instead of admitting what he did, he lunged. 1 second, he was across the room. The next, he was right in front of me, grabbing my wrist. "You don't get to do this," he hissed. And for the first time in years, I felt something I never thought I'd feel around him. Fear. Because the look in his eyes? That wasn't anger. That was something worse. And I wasn't safe anymore. Eric had never been violent. He had never even raised his voice at me before. But that night, standing in our kitchen, gripping my wrist so tightly I could feel my pulse against his fingers, he snapped. His face was red, his eyes wild. The calm, charming man I had married? Gone. "You don't get to do this," he hissed, his grip tightening. "You don't get to turn my family against me." I should have been scared. I was scared. But something else kicked in, something stronger. I refused to be afraid of him. So I yanked my hand away, stepping back. "I didn't turn them against you," I said, my voice steady. "You did that all by yourself." He let out a dry, humorless laugh. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Just because you stole my company." I tilted my head. "Stole?" I repeated. "You mean the company you were bleeding dry? The one I saved? That company?" I watched as his face twisted, caught between anger and something else. Panic. Because he knew I was right. And if there was one thing Eric couldn't handle, it was losing control. Before he could say anything else, before the fight could escalate, there was a knock at the door. A sharp, impatient knock. Eric flinched. His body went stiff. I frowned. Expecting someone? He didn't answer. I moved to open it, but he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. That's when I knew. Whoever was at the door. It wasn't good. Move, I said. He didn't. But the knocking got louder. More urgent. And then, Eric. Open the damn door. A woman's voice. High-pitched. Angry. I saw his jaw tighten, his fingers flex at his sides. He knew exactly who it was. I had a pretty good guess too, but I still wanted to hear him say it. Who is that? I asked. Silence. The knocking turned into pounding. Eric. I stepped around him and yanked the door open. And there she was. Vanessa. The woman he had been funneling money to. The woman he had been paying for. She was exactly what I expected, tall, blonde, and pissed as hell. But what I wasn't expecting. She was pregnant. Very, very pregnant. The second she saw me, she froze. Oh! Her eyes flicked to Eric, then back to me. You're the wife. Something about the way she said it, the slight hesitation, made my stomach turn. She knew who I was. But she had still shown up at our house. Which meant she wasn't here to hide anymore. She was here to claim something. Or someone. Eric looked like he wanted to disappear. His face had gone completely blank, his body locked in place. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. What do you want, Vanessa? She blinked at me, then scowled. I want to talk to Eric. Alone. I let out a short laugh. Not happening. Her eyes narrowed. You think this is funny? She placed a hand on her belly. I'm carrying his child. I turned to Eric, raising an eyebrow. Well, nothing. No denial. No excuses. No explanation. Just silence. And that's when I knew. This wasn't new. She wasn't some random fling. She was serious. And Eric? He had been planning something. Something big. I took a slow breath. How long? I asked, my voice steady. Vanessa frowned. What? How long have you been sleeping with my husband? She hesitated, glancing at Eric. Don't look at him, I snapped. Look at me. A beat of silence. Then, 3 years. I almost laughed. 3 years. 3 years of sneaking around. 3 years of lying. And I never knew. Until now. But the worst part? She wasn't just his mistress. She was part of the missing money. The secret accounts. The mysterious withdrawals. It all made sense now. Eric hadn't just been cheating. He had been preparing. For a new life. A life without me. And judging by the panic in his eyes, I had ruined his timeline. I was supposed to be gone by now, Eric muttered under his breath. It was so soft I almost didn't hear it. But Vanessa did. Her head snapped toward him. What do you mean, gone? Eric ran a hand through his hair, looking completely defeated. And then it all clicked. The secret condo. The hidden money. The sudden desperation. He had been planning to leave. Me. The company. Everything. Vanessa's face twisted in realization. You were going to disappear? Silence. And then she slapped him. Hard. You bastard, she hissed. You told me you were filing for divorce. You told me you were waiting for the right time. I let out a slow breath. That was the final piece. Eric had planned to drain the company. Take the money. Run off with Vanessa. Leave me with nothing. But I got to him first. Now? He had nothing. And Vanessa? She was realizing she had nothing, too. The scene in front of me was perfect. Eric standing there caught. Vanessa, furious, realizing she had been played just as badly as I had. And me? I was calm. Because while they were both losing everything, I had already won. But there was one more thing I needed to do. I stepped back, gesturing toward the door. Both of you. Get out. Vanessa turned to Eric. You better fix this, she snapped. But Eric? Eric just stared at me. Because he knew. He couldn't fix this. He was already done. Eric didn't move. Vanessa was still yelling, still demanding answers, but his eyes were locked on me. I could see it now, the reality sinking in, the weight of everything hitting him all at once. His plan had failed. His money was gone. His company was mine. And the woman he had been funding? The one he thought was his future? She had just realized he had planned to leave her too. There was nothing left for him to do but react. And, just like I expected, he lashed out. This is your fault, he spat. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Really? That's what you're going with? You were never supposed to be part of this, he yelled, his voice cracking. You were never supposed to have power over me. It was supposed to be mine. Vanessa's face twisted. What the hell is he talking about? I turned to her. You didn't know? I asked, feigning surprise. Eric's not exactly a businessman. His dad handed everything to him, but he never cared enough to run it. I was the one who kept things going. And when his dad saw how useless he was, he left the company to me. Vanessa looked like she had been slapped. That's not true, she whispered. I shrugged. Check the legal documents. Eric clenched his fists. I was supposed to get out, he roared. You ruined it. You ruined everything. I stepped closer. No, Eric, I said, my voice low, steady. I just made sure you finally faced the consequences. His whole body tensed, and for a second, I thought he might actually hit me. But before he could do anything, Vanessa stepped in. You were going to leave me, she said, her voice trembling. That's why you were moving the money. You weren't planning a life with me. You were planning to disappear. Eric didn't deny it. He didn't even look at her. Because we all knew the truth. Vanessa let out a hollow laugh, shaking her head. I gave up everything for you. You told me to wait, to be patient, that we'd have a future. She grabbed her purse, wiping a tear from her cheek. You're pathetic. Then she turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. And just like that, Eric had no one left in his corner. Megan, of course, wasn't going to let this slide. She had been embarrassed. Humiliated. And if there was one thing Megan hated, it was losing. So she did what she always did. She made it public. By the next morning, I was getting calls left and right. People in the company whispering. Clients asking questions. Everyone had seen the posts. Megan had gone nuclear on social media. I was just fired from my own family's business. After everything I've done. After years of hard work. All because some gold-digging woman manipulated her way into controlling it. I will not be silenced. It went on. And then, the real bombshell, and guess what? Eric has been having an affair for years. And now he's broke, too. Maybe he and his little mistress can figure out how to pay rent together. The comments were brutal. Some people were on her side, calling me a snake, a manipulator. Others were against her, pointing out that she had done nothing to deserve her job in the first place. And then there were the ones laughing at Eric. Because Megan hadn't just thrown him under the bus. She had set the entire bus on fire. And Eric? He couldn't handle it. I was at the office when he showed up. I knew he would. He was a cornered animal now. No money, no power, nothing to lose. He stormed in, ignoring the employees staring at him, ignoring the security guard trying to stop him. He went straight for my office, slamming the door behind him. Undo this, he demanded. I leaned back in my chair. Undo what? All of it, he snapped. Give me access to the accounts. Let me back in. I can fix this. I stared at him for a long moment. And then I laughed. Fix this? I repeated. Eric, you spent years cheating, lying, stealing. You ran through every dollar you could get your hands on. You were planning to abandon me. And now that everything's fallen apart, you think you get to come crawling back. He slammed his hands on my desk. I don't have anything left. That's not my problem, I said. He gritted his teeth. You want me to beg? Fine. I'm begging. He actually dropped to his knees, pressing his hands together. It would have been pathetic if it wasn't so infuriating. You're only begging because you got caught, I said coldly. His face twisted. Then, finally, he broke. You ruined my life, he whispered. I stood up, leaning forward. You ruined your own life, Eric, I said. I just made sure you had to deal with it. And then I called security. The last thing I saw was Eric being dragged out of the office, screaming about how I would regret this. But I wouldn't. Not for a second. Megan tried to sue me. She lost. Eric tried to get back into the company. He failed. Vanessa? She moved back home. I don't know what happened to her, and honestly, I don't care. As for me, I moved on. I kept running the business, kept building my life, and for the first time in years, I felt free. No more lies. No more humiliation. No more waiting for someone to respect me. I had everything I needed. And Eric? Eric had nothing,